Wake up, Israel News with Chris Judah. I'm gonna do this again. It's about the Giants again. So, a little quick video. It's not gonna be long, but I'm just gonna show you what Pastor Stephen Darby is reading the Bible. What I put up Samuel in the Bible, and I wanted to show the video of the guys in Afghanistan, the soldiers that came across these giants, and they're going to Stephen Darby is going to describe the giants. The soldiers are going to describe the giants. I'm going to put up Samuel in the Bible that describe the giants well. All right. So let's do this, man. Welcome. Wake up, Israel News, Chris Judah. Let's go to it right now. We're going to go to Stephen Darby first.
By gigantism. As a matter of fact, remember it says they were in those days and afterward. So after the flood, that DNA was still in the earth. They did it again. That's where Goliath comes from.
Let's go back a little bit.
They weren't these. If you look at Genesis 6, there seems to be something missing right there. Like the sons of God came to the daughters of men, and giants were produced. Listen, there were Nephilim on the earth in those days. Now, I thought we was talking about men. Well, we knew men were on earth because they was having daughters, right? Nephilim is describing the fallen ones. They were on the earth. Most of the movies you've seen, they have this theme, the same theme. The Transformer movie had the same theme. Most of the movies have the same theme because we're being conditioned for which was to come back. Paradigm shift. That's why you're getting prepared for aliens and all this stuff. Don't think this all this superhero stuff, because the Nephilim were called heroes. They were called the men of renown, the men of old. This is where all the Greek gods came from. The Greek gods were not just mythical people.
Wait a minute, people. Wait a minute, fam. I got to let me pull up this video, because last time I was putting up videos on YouTube and sharing my videos on Hangouts, it wasn't doing anything properly. All right, it wasn't doing nothing properly. As far as this is Black Johnson TV right here. So, but here we go right here. Let's pull up. Let me see. Giants and let's see what this come up as well. Well, if not, I'll just show see Stephen Darby. Nephilim. It may not show up. We just go ahead with the YouTube, and which is fine. So let's just continue with YouTube.
They were people of the Nephilim, the giants, and they worshiped them. Are y'all there? So Jesus says it'll be just like in the days of Noah when I come. Come on, boy, get your mind out. This is why God only showed up to destroy the earth twice. Well, he came once and he's going to come again. And it's only one reason he did it. He loved his creation. But the Nephilim created a race also. Oh, boy. Let me show you. Okay. There were Nephilim on the earth in those days and also afterward. Listen. Remember, listen. This is before the flood, right? There were Nephilim on the earth in those days and also afterward. It's on that after the flood too. Come on. Why did God destroy the earth? Because the angels that he had created to watch over the earth came down and had sex with the women and created another race. Say amen. Of half human. They were marked by gigantism. As a matter of fact, remember it says they were in those days and afterward. So after the flood, that DNA was still in the earth. They did it again. That's where Goliath comes from. They marked the Nephilim, the offspring of the fallen angels. Oh boy. The offspring, they was marked because they had 6 fingers on both hands and 6 toes. And they were all giants. Say amen.
Now, Stephen Darby, follow him. One of the best pastors I have ever heard in my life. He passed in 2017. We're gonna go to this guy right here. He's a Ashkenazi Jew, but he's gonna explain to it. And I hope my video ain't choppy, because when I share my videos on YouTube, it's other people can share theirs, but my video it becomes choppy, man. And I do not like that. It becomes very choppy. Let me try something else. Hold on one second. See, can I do this on Black Johnson TV? Y'all, just bear with me, because I'm going to see will it be jumpy on Black Johnson TV. I'm going to pull this video up on Black Johnson TV, because it's going to extract this video and put it on here. So let's see if I share my stuff. Hold on. Fetch video. Let's see what's gonna happen. Fetched it. Fetched it. Let's watch it from here, okay? Because YouTube be choppy when I share my YouTube videos. See, this be better on my laptop. Maybe it's the laptop, I don't know.
To the great reluctance on the shooter's part that he is forthright and not telling us the canard. Giant of Kandahar. Richard emailed me with the details, or is it? Last year, Richard Chava, director and co-producer of the Watchers series, was being interviewed on the Dr. J radio show. After the show had ended, Richard continued with a conversation that had been initiated by a military guy who we called into the show. One thing led to another, and this caller, who shall remain anonymous, told Richard he was in Afghanistan in 2002 and was one of the shooters who killed what has now become known as the Giant of Kandahar. Richard emailed me with the news that this man appeared to be truthful in relating his experience. Next day I called this person, whom from here on out I'll refer to as the shooter. I interviewed him over the phone and then an additional 3 times afterwards, listening to his story, seeing if he embellished it, changed important details. I then flew out to an undisclosed location and met the man face to face. I watched his body language very carefully, and I thought he was forthright and not telling us the canard. Still, Rick and I were hesitant about running with the story, as it was almost too incredible to believe. At this point, Providence provided yet another witness. This man, too, was ex-military and had served in Afghanistan. He was my driver at a conference that I was speaking at, and I struck up a conversation with him about his military background. I casually and sort of tongue-in-cheek asked him if he had ever heard of a giant being discovered while he was on duty. The man never missed a beat and replied, "Oh, you mean the Giant of Kandahar? He was shot by our guys a few years before I got there in a cave or a mouth of a cave or something like that."
We would come back to the base and we started hearing this rumor about a unit that killed this, what they started calling this really tall person. At first I didn't think anything of it, and come to find out that the person that killed actually was 3 times the size of a man, had extra digits on their hand and digits on their feet, and had red hair, and a special unit had come in and wanted this target.
When I arrived,
You heard he said extra digits on his hand and his feet, six toes and 6 fingers. As in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. All right.
Live at the venue where I was speaking, I phoned Richard and told him we had yet another witness to the giant story. The initial story that was told to us was related verbatim by this man as fact. We then interviewed both of these men for our film, Watchers 10 DNA. There's also a dynamic in the story that I want to point out to you, and it's this. A while back, I interviewed Chief Joseph Riverwind right here on PPS Report. The chief and I spoke about what I have come to call the Nephilim lance. This artifact was discovered in the backwoods of Michigan by an outdoorsman named Bob Shelley. Bob gave the original lance to the chief, and I'm holding a reproduction of it, a one-to-one reproduction of it, here as I speak. This weighs about 8.5 pounds. It's very heavy, and when you take this and lash it to a pole, it would be very difficult for a 6-foot man to wield. And yet, this is exactly what the shooter saw the giant wielding in Afghanistan. The reason I bring this up is because when I showed this lance to the shooter, he commented that this artifact was similar to what the giant of Kandahar was wielding. There was another dynamic I want to discuss before we run the clip from Watchers 10 DNA, which, by the way, has become viral. The fact that this giant had 6 fingers and 6 toes, as well as flaming red hair. There was also a stench that was as powerful as a skunk, but according to the shooter, smelled more like a pile of rotting corpses. Here's the clip, and you can decide for yourself if giants are alive and well and living in the present day. You were in Afghanistan in 2002, and you were called into a very remote section of Afghanistan because a patrol had basically gone missing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, just around nothing. Well, very remote. Yeah, very remote.
Before he tell this story, let's read this. Before he say anything, I hope you guys stay with me. I hope you guys are still with me. Samuel, chapter 2 Samuel 21, chapter 21, 16, 22. 22. A giant named Ishbilbenob was carrying a bronze spear. You hear that? That weighed about 3.5 kilograms. And who was wearing a new sword. And you know, I just saw this right now, and he said something about, that's the perfect time because he said something about a sword, right? A giant named Ishbilbenob, who was carrying a bronze spear that weighed about 3.5 kilograms. So let's go see how much is 3.5. Y'all know off the top of your head? Can you tell me 3.5 kilogram? What is it? 3.5 kilograms. The pounds, let's see what it is. Okay. 3.5 kilograms to pound, about 7 pounds. Okay. Huh. See. 7 pounds, weighed about 3.5. Who was wearing a new sword. Thought he could kill David, but Abishai, son of Zeruiah, came to David's help, attacked the giant, and killed him. Then David's men made David promise that he would never again go out with them to battle. You are the hope of Israel, and we don't want to lose you, they said. After this, there was a battle with the Philistines at Gob. Doing such, Jabashah from Husha killed a giant named Shaph. There was another battle with the Philistines at Gob, and Elinan, son of Jair, and Bethlehem killed Goliath from Gath, whose spear had a shaft as thick as the bar on a weaver's loom. Let's read it again. Whose spear had a shaft as thick as the bar on a weaver's loom. The spear is the shaft of it. He just displaying the shaft, isn't he? We go back to the video. Then there was another battle at Gath, where there was a giant who loved to fight. He had 6 fingers, each hand, and 6 toes on each foot. He defied the Israelites, and Jonathan, the son of David's brother, Shabbat, killed him. These 4 were descendants of the giants of Gath. Okay. I don't know what I did there. And they were killed by David and his men. So let's go back to the video.
So we flew in about 4 kilometers. We're hiking through the same area where they were supposed to make one of their checkpoints, one of their well points. And before we left, there was all kinds of what happened with an ambush. That was even odd because at the point of the ambush, we called from close air support something. Okay, there was no call to me. Just off the bridge. So we're coming down a mountainside, and it was a nice path, goat path. As we bent around this corner, you could see this opening of the cave. There's a cave. We're coming around, and then I see there's a lot of rocks, which is another oddity, and then bone matter. Well, I'm not close enough to identify what kind of bones, but I did see something I knew was a piece of our communications equipment. So instantly, we're thinking ambush, maybe animal, it could be anything. There was enough room in front of this cave, but it had a sheer drop off. But there was enough room that we actually got into a decent dispersal in case of ambush.
You see something coming out of the cave, and it's moving with a speed and agility that catches you off guard. Everybody.
And he comes out. It was a man at least 12 to 15 feet. This is a monster, red beard, and his hair was long past his shoulder, a scarlet red, and Dan runs at him and starts shooting him, broke all of us into the canal. As it was
so now your training is kicking in.
Oh yeah, okay. Muscle memory, complete muscle memory. While Dan is moving at him, another bro of mine's laying down fire, and I start firing. He skewers Dan. He's now got him on this pipe. We went to him. And he's still got him. And he's coming after more. We all just clicked in. I don't know what it was, but I remember we're all like, shoot him in the face, shoot him in the face. And our weapons components were in force. We had 308s. We had barricades. This is sounding longer than it took. We're talking 30 seconds. And he's taking multiple hits, and it's still moving.
He talked about this giant being 1,100 pounds, anywhere from 10 to 15 feet long, and it was killed. It was apparently shot somewhere in a cave in Afghanistan, but before it was shot, it lunged at several of our troops, our soldiers, may have even gorged somebody. It was just a bizarre story, and it just sounds like the Nephilim from the Bible, doesn't it?
That's why we're so fascinated by this. First off, can you imagine actually seeing something like this? A giant this big, who's 12 feet to 15 feet tall. Take a good look at your ceiling. It's probably about 8 feet from the floor. Add another 4 feet on top of that to get 12 feet. Add 7 feet. And you get a 15-footer, and as you go up, you've got to go out. That's how big this thing was. I can only imagine how the shooter and his battle buddies must have felt, and the fear that flashed through their minds, paralyzing them until their training kicked in, and they brought the giant down. But not before the giant had impaled Dan in that very large pipe.
And you have to assume that the giant is not alone, that the giant is not the only being living on this planet. There's got to be a whole school of them somewhere. You know, maybe he's got a female mate. Maybe he's got children. Who knows? Unfortunate that he had to attack our soldiers rather than be somewhat peaceful. But I guess that comes with the territory.
Dan was dead. Okay. And Wyatt is a good man. Probably one of the best men I know, now dead. Before I'd left, they were already starting what they call a 9-line, which is a medevac request. They're sending out a medevac request, then all of a sudden it's not a medevac request. All of a sudden we had a helicopter show up because, like I told you, it was a large precipice, a sheer drop. So the helicopter just came up from the ground. They had dropped netting, which is like cargo netting, like squares. We were told we had to bundle him up. And we get another bigger helicopter, but it's almost like a Jolly Green Giant used to look back in the day that could get, you know, through this area. Because the mountains, you gotta remember, Chinooks could only go in certain places because they had enough lift. And so we got him on there. The thing was too big, we couldn't move it. It smelled worse than a skunk. The corpse that's been around for a while.
Really foul.
Oh, it was like a combination because of the persistence of a skunk smell. But once the helicopter came in, dropped its little hook, and off he goes. The communication was sent out. We had a very large, hostile human creature.
There you are in the hills of Afghanistan. How many troop members are you with?
We had 6 on my crew, and when we say hills of Afghanistan, for us, we did not fly into the wilderness. We actually flew into a base. I guess this thing was transloaded out of the mountains by a C-47. But I could see that it did have the 6 fingers. I remember taking my foot up and placing it up next to its foot, and it was extremely large. We estimated it at about 12 feet, give or take. What I can tell you is the weight of the thing. Basically, it was approximately 1,500 pounds when it was getting on the aircraft. Now, if you take away the pallet weight and all the rigging that we had to hold this thing down, we figured it was around 1,100 pounds.
Of course, we're upset. That's a given. Okay. We lost a very good guy. But add to that, you're discussing something that even in our after action report, they're saying rewrite it. And we had to rewrite it to what you want.
How many fingers?
6 toes.
6 toes.
And the males were weird because if you see somebody that ever has, don't know what it's called, but
Like a fungus on
their nails, how they get pointy and they're like gnarly, that's what they look like.
As we showed you in the clip, the radio operator checked in and gave the report, and the unit was told to stand by as Central Command was about to dispatch 2 helicopters to them. They were told that the Giant would be loaded on one of the choppers, and then they would follow in the other chopper for debriefing. The shooter told us that when the chopper landed, they loaded the Giant into a very large cargo net. The first chopper towing a Giant left, and then they boarded the second helicopter and followed. When they returned to their base in the Kandahar province in Afghanistan, they were debriefed and told to keep all of this under wraps. They were forced to sign a non-disclosure agreement, which essentially would prohibit them from talking about this to anyone. It is with great reluctance on the shooter's part that he has come forward. He believes that people have the right to know what is going on this planet, that the supernatural is real, and that the startling and unsettling fact that a remnant of a legendary Nephilim are still on the earth may be true. While the shooter's story is certainly fantastic, it does corroborate Stephen Quayle's account that he published years before. And people have a right to know about this stuff. I mean, if there are 15-footers or 18-footers roaming the planet and our military has brought them down, I mean, we have a right as American citizens. I mean, this isn't classified military stuff. This is something that we need to know, and it points back to the biblical prophetic narrative. What are your thoughts on that?
I think here's my personal opinion. My personal opinion is if it points that the Bible's accurate, they don't want it. If it goes against Darwinian evolution, it's not to be spoken of.
So you're out in the boonies running around looking for high-value targets.
Correct. And we're doing those operations, and as we're getting into firefights or getting into different scrimmages, you want to put it that way, we would come back to the base and we started hearing this rumor about a unit that killed this, what they started calling this really tall person. At first, I didn't think anything of it. And come to find out that the person that they killed actually was 3 times the size of a man, had extra digits on their hand and digits on their feet, and had red hair. And a special unit had come in and wanted this target. Well, we had heard that they had killed this thing inside a cave, or the mouth of the cave, and it was common knowledge among the military to hear this.
And when you say common knowledge, what do you mean? I mean, how's that work?
Years later, come to find out, when I had returned from Afghanistan and had met other military members that had not been in the operations with me, if you would bring up the Giant of Kandahar, they knew about it. When you first hear it, you're thinking like, this has got to be a joke. This has got to be a hoax. And then after things go down a certain way and you keep hearing it, you start to realize it's not a joke. They kept telling us to keep our weapons high, which means normally it's 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, but they kept telling us to put it towards a man's head and put it higher. So we would question, why do they want us to shoot higher than a man's head?
That's bizarre.
It is.
Our contact said 2002 is when they shot this 15-footer or taller, and you're now in this, you know, in the service around 2005. This word has gotten out, and what I find interesting here too is that if you're going to create a hoax, I get that, but you've got details: 6 fingers, red hair, double rows of teeth, 6 digits on the toes, and of course that brings it right back into what we hear about in the biblical prophetic narrative, specifically the Nephilim. Your thoughts?
I agree. I will tell you that when I was doing my time in the service, and the stuff I saw, some of it I couldn't explain, like lights in the sky during firefights, like orbs, or lights into the size of a softball that looked that size, looking up in the sky, but making weird noises. And even going to Iraq myself and being near Haditha Dam and seeing the prisoners underneath the dam, and the prisoners would scream, and there'd be this awful feeling underneath the dam. And later finding out in the Bible that angels locked underneath there, it talks about it.
And this is Haditha Dam is the Euphrates.
It's Euphrates,
and there's
right.
an angel supposedly locked underneath the Euphrates,
Correct.
which is released in the book of Revelation.
Correct.
That's bizarre. So you're actually at the site, and soldiers are being locked in prison underneath the Haditha Dam.
Correct.
And they're freaking out.
They're freaking out. They said they could feel it. In fact, the people who would guard them would draw straws to see who would actually take them.
No one wanted to go.
Nobody wants to go down. Going back to Afghanistan, we would hear these things. We would hear the locals talk about rumors of these giants.
What would the locals say? How would they talk about it?
They say that they lived in the caves and they would eat people, and
They were cannibals.
they were cannibals. And we, at the time, chalked it up to our United States' Bigfoot.
So why this is all hearsay? We don't have photographs. We do have 2 witnesses. There's no corroboration between the 2, and Steve Quayle's witness makes 3 people, all who have come on the record stating that the Giant of Kandahar was in fact real. The second witness had no hint of the interview that we did with the shooter, and so he had no dog in the hunt, as it were, in regard to vetting the story. There's another point to the story that I find really interesting, and this has to do with the second witness. While this man was in training, they were taught how to fight in a cave. Part of their training was cave fighting. They were informed that the Afghan soldiers holed up in caves, and that once they were deployed, they might find themselves fighting in caves. You may remember the events of 9/11. We were given graphic illustrations of Osama bin Laden's cave complex. It was on the cover of Time magazine. What was interesting about this part of the story was this particular soldier who came on the record informed us that during the training, the men were told to aim high. In other words, soldiers are taught to aim for the chest and then shoot for the head with the second shot. In other words, soldiers are taught to aim for the chest with the first 2 shots and then a kill shot to the head, which would be standard military procedure in a firefight. There was something else. Why would the training change? the basic military precept by instructing the men to aim high. We found that incredibly interesting. The second soldier told us that he didn't understand this at the time, but later, once deployed to the Kandahar province in Afghanistan and hearing about the giant, he put two and two together and figured out that the training was because the military may have believed there was more than one of these guys running around. We're offering this groundbreaking DVD, Watchers 10 DNA, in my new book, Nephilim Hybrids, for only $34.99. If you were to buy both of these items separately.
And I have pictures of creatures that look exactly like that. And if you look back to John's time during Revelation with his limited use of language, it's...
I believe they are experiments. What kind of experiments? Why? I don't know. But we have a physical body, and we can analyze that physical body and prove that something, an intelligent
DNA from humans in 98.5% similitude. It's very strange.
The Metapig creature is a hybrid. The other creature that I show you is a hybrid, and that's something very important because I believe they are experiments. What kind of experiments? Why? I don't know. But we have a physical body, and we can analyze that physical body and prove that something, an intelligence is behind these experiments.
Do you think the phenomenon is good or bad or both? Do you think it's a little mixture of both, or is it all good or all evil? What do you think?
I don't think it's good or evil. I think they have their own interests. I think they are not interfering with us, and it's not massive. They are probably taking some people, some analyzing. I think they are doing their own experiments for their own agenda.
The legs, the feet.
Okay.
But this creature have another, is the wings. We have an X-ray of this creature.
We have an X-ray of it.
Yes, we have an X-ray.
What did the X-ray show?
And we can see the structure of the bones related with the structure.
So this is not a hoax.
No.
It is not a hoax. Because an X-ray would show that it was a puppet or a mold.
No, this is a model. And we have a sample of tissues of this creature, and we sent to DNA molecular laboratory. But when the laboratory tried to sequencing this DNA, not found a concordance with DNA from the mammals or another creature.
So both the mitochondrial DNA and the nuclear DNA, no matches at all?
No match with
no matches.
Creature
related
with the mammals.
Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you so much for coming on the camera. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Ricardo was kind enough to take some DNA samples for us, which were put into a sterile container. These samples would have been tested in the USA at a DNA lab, but they were confiscated by the TSA upon entering America and destroyed. This was after confirming permissions by phone at the airport with Jaime Maussan. Since the TSA confiscated samples given to watchers of the ferry 3 years ago, we were unable to test it until recently. Jaime had Ricardo take new samples. They were flown in from Mexico in 2016 and arrived safely this time. The new samples were tested by 2 DNA labs. However, since the ferry had been immersed in formaldehyde for several years, none of the labs were able to derive any DNA from it. Since there are hoaxes of ferries on the internet that we knew of, we needed to make sure that this creature was real. We needed to see the X-rays. Perhaps that would give us some fresh clues. At a rare dinner in Beverly Hills with Jaime, he told us the whole story of how he got the ferry.
Is there any possibility in your mind that it might be a hoax?
No. There is no possibility because the man who found it is a 13-year-old who didn't know what it was, who didn't ask anything for it, and we have any kind of knowledge about extraterrestrials, fairies, or anything else.
Nothing like that.
He just saw an opportunity. He wanted to know at the beginning what it was, and then afterwards try to get 1 penny or two, but nothing more than that. I mean, consider that this young kid will have the knowledge to do something scientific like this,
Sophisticated.
to create something like this is absolutely impossible. I would change my name if he did something else.
Right, right. I mean, where did this 13-year-old boy, where did he find this creature?
He found it on the side of the highway. He was traveling from Guadalajara to Mexico. He stopped very near to the exit to Morelia, but on the highway. He was doing his physical necessities on the side of the highway, and he saw it. And he told me that it was clear that was very recently dead. I mean, it didn't have passed more time, a lot of time between that moment and the time of the death of this creature. He thought probably a few minutes before he found it.
Wait a minute. What did he say? Oh, do it again.
That was clear that he was doing his physical necessities on the side of the highway, and he saw it. And he told me that it was clear that was very recently dead. I mean, it didn't have passed more time, a lot of time between that moment and the time of the death of this creature. He thought probably a few minutes before he found it.
And there you have it. I hope you guys still with me. They say you guys still with me, so let's hope so. All right, man. So as in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of man, the Son of Man. Right. I wanted to share that with you guys right quick. Do a quick video. YouTube may cut my video off. I don't think they cut off, but it's been like a little mixture of bad quality when I share share other people's videos about what's going on. Now that little end of the video was a little bit of creature, not a giant, but as you see that the red hairy giant, it wasn't a Bigfoot. That was a other type of Nephilim giant. A Bigfoot is more like a Neanderthal type of Planet of the Apes type looking creature. But this particular thing is like a Greek fallen angel, Grecian Nephilim hybrid. Esau, red and hairy, scarlet. You know, they say Esau claimed his home in the mountains, and he made it with the mountain people, which they made it with the fallen angels as well. A lot of them have, and so of our people as well, probably. So, hope you guys enjoy this, man. Video of the giants in the Bible, Nephilim. They are still here. The floods are still going on. You see Nebraska, you see in India, Indonesia, Pakistan, Brazil, Argentina, Portugal. You see all of Russia's getting attacked. Australia getting flooded right now. You know, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be at the days of the coming of the Son of Man. It is here. Get ready. This is about to get wild. More and more stuff is about to appear. There are giants in the earth. I'm going to do a video on Putin. Russia scientists dig so deep that they dig so deep. They were digging for oil. They dig so deep. They start hearing yells and screams. They dig all the way to hell. I had to find a video. They dig so far. It's like they dig all the way to hell where they heard screams. People screaming, they just stopped and they just said, let's pause this exhibition. You know, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. On that note, man, I write books. I'm an author. I got my books on my thing. You want to donate for me doing these videos? I have a Cash App handle as well. My books is on my description box, man. I enjoy doing videos. Been going through a little bit of stuff, trying to get healed up on whatever I got with this food allergies. I hope it be gone in about a few weeks, man. And I can go outside and do my daily workout, my fitness activity, because I'm a lifelong fitness trainer. If I ain't training clients, I train myself. You know what I mean? You be blessed, man. Love you guys. This has been Wake Up Israel News. Chris Judah. See you next time. Shalom, people. Shalom.